Everyone, welcome. I think we're ready to get started. I want to introduce myself first. I see a lot of familiar faces here. Thanks for being here. My name is Ash. I'm a program officer at Skillman. I champion our college and career pathways work at the foundation. And before we jump in, I just want to share two intentions for the session today. I'll let Mark flip the slide. So the first is to have a conversation about college and career that isn't just about what large employers or colleges want. We know that matters, but how do we continue to broaden the conversation about what's possible in a way that really centers young people leading their future? And the second is to create space for all of us to learn from two amazing young people who have walked this and navigated a lot to shape their futures and become business owners and leaders. So I think the important takeaway here that we hope to all walk away with and carry is that we can't just prepare young people to be workers or ready for their first job, but to prepare them to confidently choose from and succeed in a broad range of paths to meaningful, well-paying, wealth-building pathways. So really looking forward to talking with our panelists. First, I want to, okay, we got the bios up here. So David and Brandon are going to tell you about themselves directly, so I don't want to give too much away, but I will just let you know that David is one of the co-founders of Stitching Up Detroit, and he went to Western High School and through and is part of Grace in Action collectives. And then Brandon, our other youth panelist, is a Cody High School graduate, and he is the founder of Lottie and Grace Catering and went through the Detroit Food Academy programming. So we're going to start with hearing just a bit about both programs. We're really grateful to Megan and Tiffany from Grace in Action and Detroit Food Academy, respectively, who are here and helped us put this panel together. So I'm going to start by do we have Megan going first? Yes. Gonna let Megan hop on and tell us a little bit about Grace in Action, and then we'll hear from Tiffany about DFA, and we will get straight into the youth panel from there.
Okay, thank you. Nice to meet everybody. My name is MEGHAN SOBOCIENSKI. I direct Grace in Action Collectives. And Grace in Action Collectives is a network of youth-run collectives and worker-owned cooperatives. And so we have a sort of pipeline that works with young people and trains them, that connects them with the cooperative businesses that we support in launching each year. And so currently we provide training. We train about 200 youth a year in skills that prepare them for worker ownership for their education or building an individual business. And we provide that training currently in graphic design, coding, screen printing, web and app design. And this year we're expanding into sound engineering and language justice and translation. And the training lasts about a year, and young people can join a cooperative at the end of them. Next slide. And then we do a full incubation project with worker-owned cooperatives. So we offer a cooperative intro training. We have one coming up actually next Thursday, I believe. It's on our Facebook if anyone's interested in coming. We do a full cooperative development process. So it's about a 6-month process that goes through a basic training and then helps people build their business. So business planning, marketing, et cetera, et cetera. We do business incorporation, operating agreement assistance. Then we offer back office supports to cooperatives. So financials for 3 years, tax preparation, ongoing legal support, and then some optional pieces. And then ongoing co-op development support. So meeting facilitation, business and marketing support. And then we network the cooperatives together and provide continued training, particularly for young people in the community. And the next slide is these are some of the co-ops that we have supported. And so Bridging Languages is the newest co-op. They are a language translation, multilingual language translation interpretation cooperative. Equitable Internet Southwest is a telecom cooperative. Radical Productions is web development, coding, and app development. And they actually have been a youth collective for years. And they're in the process right now of spinning off into a formal cooperative, which is super exciting. Dulce Detroit Childcare, I think Jocelyn's on. She's a founding member of Dulce Detroit, which provides childcare, cleaning in action, cleaning and stitching of Detroit, which you'll hear a bunch about from David. So that's us. That's who we are.
Thanks, Megan. Let's go over to Tiffany.
Oh, thanks so much, Megan.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so good evening, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Tiffany Brown. I'm here on behalf of Detroit Food Academy as program director. Detroit Food Academy is an after-school cooking program, and we cook with our young people and teach young Detroiters culinary arts, entrepreneurship, and leadership skills all year long. During the pandemic, we've had the honor and privilege to continue to deliver our program to so many amazing young Detroiters. We purchased a van and now shop and deliver directly to young people's doorsteps with nutritious ingredients and the kitchen supplies that they need to cook with us virtually. So we currently have 5 virtual programs supporting middle schoolers and high schoolers all across Detroit, Highland Park, and Hamtramck. And our advanced leadership program is really what I want to lift up today. It really serves as our pathway program and a really amazing opportunity for us to expose young people to real working experiences right in our very own production kitchen, to place them out in real working opportunities directly with Detroit food businesses, and really to help them continue to connect deeper to entrepreneurship and leadership opportunities as they continue to matriculate through high school and graduate. And so we are really hopeful and excited that our advanced leadership program will continue to grow as a pathway to provide and really support the next generation of food leaders, food change makers, and food business owners. So we're really excited to be here with you guys to talk about the amazing things that Brandon and David have been able to accomplish over the last couple years.
Thank you, Tiffany. So now I'm going to give Brandon and David each an opportunity to just tell us about their businesses before we go into more about their journey. So David, can you tell us about Stitching Up Detroit?
Yes. So Stitching Up Detroit, we're a 5 worker owned cooperative in Southwest Detroit. We provide design and screen print services for different businesses, schools, churches, and sports. Great quality textile prints. We're always focused on making sure that our partners or whoever we're printing shirts for is satisfied with our service. We print on shirts, sweatshirts, hats, aprons, canvas bags, sweatpants, jackets, anything that's like cloth material. We also provide live events and youth trainings. And we really enjoy being able to provide our quality prints and also being able to show the next generation something different that is not taught in school.
Thanks, David. And Brandon, can you tell us about your business?
Yeah, so Lottie and Grace is a catering company that I own, and it's a homage to my great aunts who are Lottie and Grace Hawk. They both were maids back in the 1950s to 1970s, and then through being able to come into people's homes, they were able to bring their traditions and their fine dining skills to bring themselves into people's homes, and then also had the opportunity to not just bring herself into their homes, was able to bring my parents in, and also showing the next generation on how to push through. So it's a homage to them. They never got a chance to start their own business. Everything for them was through word of mouth. So Lottie and Grace is just that. What we provided Lottie and Grace is the opportunity for us to co-create with you, which is my favorite thing to do. So we're able to co-create and build menus and anything. So we're really bringing ourselves to you. So bringing our own tradition and ourselves in with you through food. So that's kind of what Lottie and Grace is. Yeah, Len. Also just bringing in different youth to help.
Thank you, Brandon. So now, David, first, I want to ask you to just talk a little bit about your journey. How did you go from being a high school student to a co-owner in a business? And feel free to highlight any challenges along the way.
Okay. Yeah, well, I'm gonna have to go back a little bit to middle school. So, when I came across Grace in Action, I was 7th, 8th grader. So I went to Academy of the Americas for elementary, middle school, And then I went to Western International High School. I came across Grace in Action through a summer camp John had hosted. John, he's a pastor at Grace in Action. He had hosted, I believe, the year of summer 2011. I was in 8th grade at the time. We did different activities. One of the activities that we actually did was screen print. I was also involved in some of the other art projects that John had going on throughout the year 2011, 2012. But the one thing that I stuck with was screen print. I was actually working with the guy that came in and gave us a demonstration of screen print. It was later, like 2012, I want to say, when me, Megan, and a couple other people, we came together with the idea of building a youth screen print cooperative. And we would work on our own merch, do some live events, and we'll just we'll work on orders slowly as well. So we were taking some orders and we were just working like maybe like 2 hours a week or something. So it'd take us like a month to finish an order, which was fine, you know. We would get compensated through iPads or MacBooks. So 6 months you get an iPad, a year you'll get a MacBook. And that was until we we got older. We decided to take this to the next level. And actually, I believe it was 2019 when we incorporated into LLC. Basically, I went from a 12-year-old getting introduced to screen print to being an 18, 19-year-old, being part owner of and a co-founder of a running cooperative. Yeah, we also, we started with some members just, a lot of members kind of like vanished through the time due to like family stuff and like school. Some of them went to college. I stuck around. Right now we are 4 members at the moment, and everybody has their own special, important job, part of the co-op. And yeah. You want me to talk about a little bit of Grace in Action, how they're involved as well?
Yes, let's hold that for just a minute, but we are definitely going to talk about that. One follow-up question I have for you, David, is did you know that you wanted to be a business owner before you got involved with Grace in Action?
At the age of 12, I want to say not really. It was in my head, being like having your own business is good. I always known like, oh yeah, you have business, that's something good. But it was never. It was there, but it wasn't like, I wasn't able to back it up due to like, I'm a first immigrant family here in the US generation. So that kind of has something to do with it too. So, yeah.
It sounds like you're saying there was a seed there, but you really needed somebody to light the spark a little bit more, and Grace in Action helped to do that. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, like it's actually doable, it's possible.
Thank you, David. So now I'm going to turn it to Brandon to tell a little bit more about his story.
So my story kind of like began with DFA in 12th grade. I want to say 3 months before I actually like graduated high school. So like I had a B in my health class. My health class. So my health class, I had like a B, and I was like, I want an A in this class so bad. I do not want to be no more. So I like came to my teacher and I asked her like, how can I get this B to A? She's like, well, we have this after school program called Detroit Food Academy. If you join that and you come for like the last 3 months of high school, I can like give you extra credit. So I started the program, and like I always had like a really like strong passion for cooking. So with me being in the program, I was like, I really, really love this program. So with me graduating, I'm like, how do I continue this program? Like once I graduate, like I'm about to be done with school. Like, is this the end of the program? So I met someone by the name of Yolanda Scarborough, who was actually one of my like really, really close mentors. And she was like, hey, well, we have a summer program, but you had to be in the program for a year. And in my mind, I was like, no, I am joining this summer program. There's nothing you guys can tell me that I'm not going to join this summer program. So I ended up interviewing with Yolanda, and I ended up getting the summer program. But in my own natural way, again, I'm like, okay, the summer program is over now. I still want to be part of this company. Like on top of it, I was like, I really enjoy cooking, and outside of cooking, I really enjoyed the entrepreneurship side that they had with it. So with me joining Detroit Food Academy, I was like, well, is there a way that we can create a position for me to join into the program, and so be it. They were like, hey, well, if you can come with the idea and help us create it, we can create that position for you. So that's when the junior classroom coordinator position was created for me and Yolanda's daughter. So I started in through that, and then through me joining in through there, I was able to start seeing the entrepreneurship side. So I never wanted to like own my own business, but I always wanted to, no matter where I go, I always knew that I wanted to be the head. I would say, like, I don't want to say the boss because boss sound like bossy, but I always wanted to like run what I was doing. So being able to fully see how the entire see the entire entrepreneurship side of it, I kind of was like, well, I kind of want to like start my own business. And again, going back to like one of my mentors in Scarborough, she was like, Brandon, you can like definitely do that. I definitely see that within yourself. So like, that's kind of like how my journey started on me wanting to open up Lottie and Grace. And then actually my first ever pop-up I want to say 3 months. 3 months, I'm starting to think 3 is my lucky number. So 3 months before me graduating actual college, I did my first ever pop-up. And the reason I kind of like did it just off of the push from Yolanda, who was part of DFA at the time, pushing me, saying like, hey, you need to do that pop-up. You've only been talking about it for so long, go do it. So actually me being able to do the pop-up myself, and then outside of me being able to do the pop-up, me being able to like reach back and being able to hire my nieces and nephews, being able to hire my sister, being able to even like have Yolanda actually be part of it with me, that kind of like gave me the sense of like, hey, I kind of like want to be a leader, but with me being a leader, I want to be able to give back. So that's kind of like how my journey started on me wanting to be an entrepreneur.
Thank you, Brandon. Okay, so I have a few more questions, but the next thing that I want to do is have everyone come off mute for a minute and just like give David and Brandon some love for what they have accomplished at this age, because I think it's amazing. So please don't make me clap alone. And if you missed the round of clapping, you can put love in the chat. I see there's already David, Brandon. It's probably hard for you to follow while you're talking, but there is so much love in the chat for both of you. So I just wanted to acknowledge that. We're really excited that you both made time for us today to share with us. So the next question that I have, and I should say for everyone who's listening and watching, when David, Brandon, and I talked last week, one of the things I was asking them about was their experience in school, and did they have exposure to the kinds of skills and experiences and knowledge that they would need to own a business. And I think broadly the answer was no. They might highlight some things in their answers, but what I want to ask David, you first, and then Brandon, is what did you learn, or what did you experience, or who did you meet at Grace in Action that really set you up to be able to be a co-owner? So what I want those of us listening, including me, to take away is like, what does it take to be ready for something like that?
Okay, yeah, so I want to say one person that really guided me through this whole process since the start, Megan, she's actually here with us too. So that's yeah, I feel like having a strong mentor on your side, like someone you can go to no matter how big or how small a situation can be. You have a backbone to help you understand the situation, and not just understand it, but being able to guide you to have a better outcome. And running a business is not easy, so there's a lot that goes into it financially, to the product, customer communication, making sure the purpose of the business is the same, whether you're feeling off one day or not. GIA and Megan from GIA plays a big role in making sure that we have that structure, or help us come up with structures to better ourselves. And I feel like that's like the most important ones that I feel like helped us be where we are now.
Thanks, David. How about you, Brandon? Can you talk about your experience in Detroit Food Academy and what you picked up along the way? You covered some of it in your overview, but feel free to expand on that.
Yeah, so just like pushing through, kind of like elaborating on like what David said, also having like that really, really strong mentor and someone who's able to like meet you where you are and kind of like pushing you, that kind of like what got me through my also. So it's kind of like, once I kind of like met Yolanda, it's been times like even when me like working for DFA, I was kind of like, I kind of don't want to work for DFA no more. And Yolanda was like, well, Brandon, what are you going to do next? And I always have in my mind kind of like, I don't know, I'm just going to do something. And like having that person to be right there, like, well, this is kind of like a good opportunity. You kind of like, you may want to like stick with this. So like full blown elaborating on what David said, just having that actual like strong mentor, having someone who's like really invested in the youth that would be in the program, I think that's the main part that like made me want to like stick and made me like push through and made me actually start visualizing myself as being more than kind of like where I was. Cause I kind of only like going back to what you said, I kind of only like picture myself as just, okay, I'm going to be a chef, but when I be a chef, I'm going to be a chef of, I'm going to not own my own restaurant, but I'm going to go work in someone's restaurant. Like I'm probably going to go work in the French Laundry or something like that. Like I always picture myself like big, but I never pictured myself on owning it. So I think having a mentor, having someone that can see something in you that you don't see in yourself, I think that's the most important thing that I kind of like took from DFA.
Thanks, Brandon. On the prep call, you both talked a little bit about specific business and entrepreneurship skills that you did not learn in high school, but that you then picked up through the work or through the support of DFA and Grace in Action. Can you just give a specific example, if you can, about something that you had to either learn the hard way or learn as you went, just around the financial side of business?
I would say for myself, like going back into like understanding like what an LLC is, understanding how to manage your money, understanding that like, hey, just because the company made this doesn't actually mean that I made this. This is what the company made. This is what's to go back into the company to invest. So I think those specific things we kind of like didn't learn in school. And I know like on the call, we kind of like, me and David both kind of like highlighted going back into kind of like, okay, we didn't per se learn these skills, but we were able to kind of like maneuver through and kind of like take basic skills like, okay, well, this is the formula on how to solve a math problem. Well, this is a formula on how to start a business. And I think that's exactly kind of like what I was able to like pick up on through DFA, through kind of like, again, with DFA and their small batch program and kind of like their mitten bites, how that was kind of like brainstormed out of the high school that I graduated from, and then us being able to go into the after school program. And even with me teaching it, I was still able to like learn as I was like going. So I think that was the most important thing, actually like learning like the financial part, then not even just so much of the financial part, it's like business logistics in general, kind of like, okay, you just can't say that this is your business, because what if you started business and someone got that name already? So you have to understand how about trademarking, LLC. So I think that's kind of like what I picked up along the way from DFA.
Yeah, I'm kind of with Brandon on that one. Numbers firsthand, that's something that like I feel like I'm actually like in the process of learning some accounting for Stitching Up Detroit. So all the members get to see the numbers firsthand. That's one thing that you can't go to a job and see their bookkeeping right. Like you can't even do it, unless you're an accountant. And I feel like that, and like I said, going back to the structure, being able to build structures and just help improve the roles of the business piece by piece, like from the project manager to the printer shop manager, just cover all the bases and have a structure formed for it.
David, I want to pick up a little bit more on something that you said. So because I know that a lot of people on the call will be new to the idea of a cooperative and how that functions. So I just want to stay there for a second. I think part of what you were saying is that because of the way the co-ownership model works, is that there's a level of transparency into the books. So there's learning and process that comes with that. I don't want to put words in your mouth. So can you just clarify to help all of us understand?
Yeah, that's exactly what I mean. So basically, like this whole thing is a learning experience for everybody that comes in. Usually all our members don't have no experience in that. So that's one thing that we just, we hit, and it's new to everybody that comes in, like literally. So it's kind of fun to be able to teach all these different things, not just printing shirts, to the members. Yeah.
Brandon, I wanted to ask you too, who do you reach back to for support now? Because it sounds like the work that you do, you've launched out of Detroit Food Academy, whereas David is still part of Grace in Action and the co-op model. So who do you turn to for support now?
For support now, kind of like just like different like mentors. So kind of like some of like my chefs from school who like were like who have also started their own food business. So outside of me starting my own food business, I right now work for 2 unique catering companies. So like reaching back out to Chef Kelly Lawton and her actually like being able to like give skills to me, like hey, this is like skills that you should have when you're starting a catering business. Or also like someone who I like really like reach out to, and it's like kind of like how David has Megan. I really reach back out to Yolanda Scarborough. She owns, she's actually the founder and owner of Camp Dinner Table. So it's another after school program and like youth-led program. So I like reach out back to her a lot, like, and she like reach out back to me. And like, that's kind of like someone who I like really reach out to whenever I find myself like in a hard place, not being able to understand stuff. So I'll reach out to her kind of like a lot.
Thank you both. So the next question I have, and I'll kick this to David first, is what do you want older adults, especially on this Zoom, there are a lot of folks that work in education or in youth development programs like Detroit Food Academy and Grace in Action. What do you want older adults to know about how to support young people as they prepare for life after high school, not just with entrepreneurship, but even in general? Feel free to share as broadly as you'd like.
Oh yeah, okay. So I would say just don't be scared to invest in young people. Sometimes all they need is just a path, you know, to support to achieve their goals, and it's just not for themselves. It's creating future opportunities for the community around them, whether it's their family members or whatever, you know. This and also not making young people feel like they're wrong for thinking however they think. You know, when you're young, you could think of some crazy things, like as far as like wanting to open up some crazy business that you don't think is possible. You know, it could be possible, and just basically just take the time out to hear them out and see if it's worth the investment.
Thank you, David. Brandon?
Yeah, I like couldn't agree more. Kind of like just meeting, and I say us because I feel like I'm still a youth myself. Like to meeting us like where we're at, understanding like hey, kind of like David said, we may have a crazy idea that may seem like really crazy to you, but just understanding like, hey, I might not be able to see the vision that they have, but if they have a vision, let's make their vision come true. How important is their vision to us? So like understanding like that the youth is literally the next generation, the future, who's actually going to like be leading that. So like, let's not say just all going back to what if someone's told Steve Jobs, like you owning a computer company, that's untangible. Like that's not something that you can do. So like meeting people exactly where they are. Cause like meeting me 2 years from now, it's a whole different person from now. Like being able to see the youth further ahead than where they are like now, meeting them where they are now, but being able to view them further. Just understanding that like, hey, we may view things differently, but your vision counts. What you're thinking about counts. So I think that's what I would like want them to take away from this.
Thank you both. So we are a few minutes away from opening it up to Q&A. So I just want to cue those who are watching and listening to start thinking about questions you have, because we should have plenty of time. But I do want to ask David and Brandon, just in general, if there's anything else that they want to share with us, and then I will open it up if Megan and Tiffany want to add anything before we move into Q&A. But let's start and just see, David, Brandon, do you have any final thoughts that you want to share with us directly?
Not directly, but I'm open for questions, you know, whatever question you guys have, I'm sure I have an answer for it.
Great. Brandon, I'm just checking to see if you want to add anything.
Yeah, because I have like a list from the like meeting that we did for just like also being able to like understand, bringing up the conversation of entrepreneurship to like you, because I know when we did our pre-meeting, that's something that we like really talked about, and that was like really strong to me. Like just bringing that up. Like a lot of times, like in school, again, like we teach that you can be a doctor, you can be a teacher. Just bringing it up, like, hey, you can be a doctor, but do you also know that you could be a doctor and open up your own practice? Or kind of like how it was for me, like you can be a chef, but you know that you can open up your own restaurant too. Like just as a youth leader, bringing that completely up for like entrepreneurship, like in general, just like full blown bringing it up, letting them know that like, don't think small, always think like incredibly big.
I love that. Thank you, Brandon. Megan, Tiffany, do either of you have anything to add before we move into Q&A?
Well,
No pressure. I'm just creating space. So it's all you guys.
So I do. First of all, I just want to say, don't think small, always think incredibly big. Like, that was amazing. That was a really nice quote. Thank you, Brandon. My question is really just for Brandon, right? Like I mentioned, our advanced leadership program continues to grow as a pathway for opportunities like Brandon is talking about today. And I just wonder if he had a magic wand today. Of course, I'm thinking of ways that we can continue to support him and tap into our network of resources that we have. But if you had a magic wand, Brandon, how might Detroit Food Academy continue to support you?
I think like continue to support me kind of like exactly like kind of like what you guys doing like now. Like I don't know if you guys like noticed like even like before this, like when Skillman like had their youth entrepreneur, like people who get like selected on like View, like you guys kind of like just reached out, you guys like thought of me, like putting how you guys can like help me is like literally continue putting people in places that you guys are like in, selecting people who are like genuinely invested in youth. And like when I say like genuinely invested, like going back to what I said in the beginning, literally meeting people where they are, like not coming in and like, hey, like when you coming in, I'm prejudging the school you are, prejudging you as a person, like actually sitting people in position. Because when I say like supporting me, I mean like the youth that you're like building them now, those are the people that like if I'm in a home 40 years from now when I'm old, who will be like taking care of me, to like continue putting people in positions to be able to reach back and help youth. I think that would be like the most thing that you guys can like do to support me.
Ah, that's beautiful, Brandon. I guess I just wonder as we're thinking about like your food business and your catering business, are there mentors? Just keep thinking about that. You can think about it, mentors or chefs, or any sort of like training opportunities that you might see, but definitely I'll keep that lifted up.
Thank you.
David, I'll broaden that to you too before we get into Q&A. Is there, clearly Grace in Action is providing a lot of support and structure. Are there things that you think are missing? We will not take it as a criticism of Grace in Action, but just broad insight into what else would be helpful.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, like Megan knows, like if I run into any situation, no matter how small situation is, it could be from like something I'm confused with from an order part of the business, like I need help managing it or figuring out the situation, what's going on. Like they're always there, you know? So I don't know. Top of my head, I can't think of anything that I would say that to improve, to make it, you know, but make it better. I don't know. I think nothing.
We could finish the storefront.
Yeah.
I know that's a work in progress.
Oh, man.
If you see me looking to the side, it's because I'm fielding questions, and I just want to remind folks that we are now taking questions. So you just need to drop your question into the chat, and I'll start reading them, and so we can just start tackling it that way. Question we just got in was, how can students get involved in the cooperatives? So that's a question for David or Megan.
Okay, well, I could speak for Stitching Up Detroit, and then Megan could tell you guys about the other cooperative. But for Stitching Up Detroit, so we host. COVID kind of threw us off these last year or two. I don't know how long it's been, but so we do youth trainings. They're like 6 months. We do 2 a year. So they started kind of like back to back. And basically like 2 hours a week. We show them the whole process from like drawing to actually putting on the shirts to selling it, marketing, the whole thing, the whole 9 yards. And Megan could tell you more about Radical Production, Dudes at Detroit, and the rest.
Yeah, so there is on the 22nd, there's a co-op info session, and I can link it in the chat actually. That's coming up from, I think it's like 5 to 7 with our director of cooperative development. And so I would say that's one way. And so that's focused around, you know, like basics about what is a co-op, but also if you're interested in starting one, particularly if you're Southwest Detroit based, we can support you in doing so. I think that there's also, so Dallas is her name, and she's going to be developing some sessions around working with the cooperatives when there is space. So as they're opening where there's space, to be able to create sessions to just let people know about each of the cooperatives, what their work is, and then help develop a process. We also then do have training processes as well. And so like Stitching of Detroit Radical Productions, we're working with Bridging Languages on creating something this year, are in schools and do workshops annually, and then do trainings at Grace in Action. So there's usually like anywhere between like 10 to 20 young people that are a part of those. And then they are able to be part of Grow Detroit's Young Talent. And through that, they're able to petition to be part of a cooperative. And so there's actually a number of Radical Productions members that are going to be co-founders who have come through that path. And I think a few that have come through Stitching of Detroit too. And so those are part of that's part of the way. So let me link in the chat the co-op info session, and I think that'll be like the best way for anyone who's interested immediately.
Yeah, I think we got a training starting too in January, right? Yeah. So I'll try to see if I can get some of that info out there. If you have it, Megan, that would be nice.
Yeah.
Okay, next question is, what is something that surprised you about starting your own business?
I think this question would have been good. Maybe like when we started, it's been a minute already. So something that surprised me. I mean, there's a lot of things that I think, I don't know, surprised me. It's hard. It's hard. Can we go Brandon and then bounce back to me? Let me just try to just.
I would say something that like really surprised me with like starting my own business is actually understanding like the work that goes into it behind the scenes. Like I think we always like when starting a business, you have like idea like, hey, I can do this, but like you're not fully understanding like all of the behind the scenes work. Cause like for me, I'm like, I'm gonna start a catering business. I'm like, I cook really good. That's something that that's all I gotta do is just like cook. But like actually from like it's just not cooking. Like I actually have to book the client. I have to meet with the client. I have to, on top of like meeting with them at this point now, I may have to do a tasting. So just understanding the back end part, that part like really surprised me outside of just like cooking. And then also like the support that I got from, like I wasn't expecting to have like a lot of support directly out of the gate. So like that surprised me also.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm actually, I like your answer, Brandon. So yeah, that's another thing that I want to say surprised me as well. The way everything works, there's just, like you said, there's a lot to it. From the numbers to the product gone, it's for sure something.
Lisa, I saw that you had a question. Do you want to ask it since you're on video? Hi.
Hey, how you doing? Hey, David. Hey, Brandon. How are you?
Hey, Lisa.
What's happening? So proud of both of you guys.
I know Lisa. Hi, Lisa.
Right, of course. I know you, Brandon. Yeah.
Lisa too.
Yeah.
You're great.
Yeah, and I kind of know you guys from the same place when, you know, the co-op was just an idea in many respects, and you were just getting going. And Brandon, I remember you at the school, and you were just starting to cook. Can you talk a little bit about the importance of the support of programs like Community Connections that support young people and that also support grassroots groups that weren't otherwise able to have any funding? And then also, Brandon, you participated in our Youth Entrepreneur Challenge, which is also going to happen in a couple weeks, our third annual, which features your group. And then David was actually a judge in that respect. So can you all talk about the importance of those type of opportunities that center youth and then kind of give you that boost to move forward?
Thank you. Yeah, Lisa. Yeah, I mean, you've been a big supporter of Stitching of Detroit since the start. I feel, if I can remember right, you actually supported, got one of our presses, one of our shirt presses early on when we first started. So thank you again. That's like 10 years ago, almost, huh?
Yeah.
And we appreciate the support still to this day. You come to us for your shirt printings and stuff. So That's awesome. And being a judge and when what was it called exactly?
Detroit Youth Entrepreneur Challenge,
The
DX.
Entrepreneur Challenge. Yeah, that was like that's a brilliant idea. I like it. And it was just being a judge was so hard, just listening to all these ideas that they had. And it was um it was amazing. Like some of them had something like I'm trying to think. I mean, we've seen some food ones. I think we did it. I've done it like the past 2 years or something like that, or 3. I don't know how long it's been going, but
Mm-hmm.
being able to see all these different ideas, is just amazing. And the support that you guys give them. I mean, I know financially is one of the main things that kids or somebody young trying to start something struggles with. That's the main thing. Like, oh, I want to do this. I want to do this, but I need money. So yeah, what you guys do, that program is amazing, and being able to be a judge and that's also sweet.
Lisa, I'm glad you came on and prompted this, and I want to invite you, if there's any information that you want to put in the chat about the type of support and resources you provide. I know that there's some young folks that are going to be listening to this recording after the fact as well, so we'll be able to capture those resources also. Brandon, I wanted to give you a heads up. Your audio is cutting out in and out a little bit. I think we've been able to follow along, but if there's anything you can adjust on your side, that might be good. I have a few more questions in the chat, but also want to invite folks, if anyone wants to come on video and raise your hand using that Zoom function, you can ask your own question if you'd like to, but if you are shy, you can put it in the chat. Okay, so Megan, I'll go to you before I read off some of the other questions.
Okay, I just want to add one thing. I think I can contribute to the conversation right now. So I do want to say that Lisa has been an incredible, like, long runner, distance runner in this race. And so she has been lifting up young people and ownership for like years. And so I want to appreciate that, at least from my like lens and perspective. And to say that I think that like that work and then the convening of this conversation is so important because and I literally have this conversation every day with somebody, right? But like every single time I try to like get my kid a Happy Meal, right? Like the line is so long, right? And the dominant narrative has become that we don't have enough workers, right? And I think we don't have enough people who want to do minimum wage work. Like I think that the pandemic exposed the exploitation of workers on a national scale and what corporations have like done to us, right? And I think what we continue to say and saying like people need to go back to work is that we really just want like this class of people that served the really like at the end of the day, the 1% to go back to just doing that. And I think like that's not my wish and my prayer and my hope is that we never go back there. And that I think that where we need to go is where this conversation can take us, right? Into a place of like greater ownership and to a place where people have, where wages are connected to labor in a way that is life-giving. And so I just want to add that this is about entrepreneurship, but I think it's on the backdrop of a larger system and structure potential movement that can like happen and burst if we believe in it and continue to have these conversations. So I'm grateful for the conversation, and that's why.
Thank you so much for adding that, Megan. And Ferris, I saw that you had a few comments in the chat. Do you want to ask a question directly, or do you want me to ask one for you? I'll take
Sure.
Oh, there he is. Okay, great.
Happy to do it. I'm sorry, I'm driving, so that's why I didn't turn the camera, but I'll park for a second just to wave. So thank you so much for such a wonderful panel, and hello, everyone. Sorry about that. My question, I have a two-fold question. What was one of the biggest, I know you have to face a lot of challenges, entrepreneurship. What would be one of the biggest one that you felt you had to overcome, whether it's internally or externally? That's the first question. And the second question is, what was one of the things that caught you by surprise, how easy it was to do being in business or starting the business? Just one of each, one hardest challenge and one easier challenge than you expected.
Okay. I can go first. So one of our biggest challenges in the co-op, and we had a lot. So I want to say that one of the biggest ones that affected us maybe is like communication structure. Goes all, I feel like it just goes all back to structure, you know, being able to have something set and something to go based off of, not just hey, I'm running a business and that's it, you know, like there's steps and processes to it. And then that's I want to say that's linked to what surprised me as well, being part of this co-op.
I would say for myself, one of the hardest things is kind of like literally starting a business. Kind of like, I feel like, not saying like we've previously answered this question, but I feel like one of the hardest things for myself was literally just like starting it. 'Cause I think there's a lot of times there's like a fear behind starting a business. It's kind of like hey, I'm kind of like scared to like start a business. What if I started and it failed? And what if like the financials part far back? So like having that like actual fear, I think that's kind of like what's the hardest thing for me. And the easiest thing for me in starting a business was literally how easy it was just to tell myself like, hey, start a business. Like at this point, this is what you want to do. You're constantly talking about it. So I think the hardest thing was kind of like believing in myself. I would say that would be the hardest thing for me. And the easiest thing was believing in myself. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword for like myself.
I agree with you for sure on that.
Okay, Pandit, I saw that you had your hand up earlier. Did you want to ask a question?
Yeah, so I know that when people start their own businesses, there's a lot of challenges that comes with it. There's a lot of doubt, as Brandon was talking about. What is one way you kind of like center yourself again to kind of see the vision, the financial challenges you face? You're competing for funding, limited funding sometimes. How do you center yourself? I'm just curious to that.
I would say for myself, like how I like center myself, and it's kind of like something that I like recently been like doing, like being able to like understand, like take time for yourself. So I think that's kind of like where my centering come from, being able to like still see my vision, but being able to understand that like I have to be able to take time for myself so I can like I'm not going to say full blown like pause it, but I can step back for a moment and then being able to like relieve myself and understand like, hey, my business would keep going, but I have to like make sure that I'm taking time for myself. So I think that would probably be like how I kind of like keep myself kind of like centered, understanding that kind of like take time for yourself. It's almost like, I like to explain it kind of like when you're on like a car ride and you're like taking a trip, kind of like if you're like taking a trip and your whole thing is like, hey, I have to get to the destination. And then, but as I'm riding on the trip, I didn't miss driving past a farm, and this farm may have 200 cows on it or something. And I never took the chance to like look over at the cows. So being able to keep yourself centered, being able to enjoy yourself on the ride, I think that's kind of like what I'm like full blown like understanding for myself, like right now.
Yeah, I feel like patience, be patient with it. I mean, kind of goes back to what Brandon was just saying, but being patient, taking your time and invest in yourself, your mental health as well. Make sure that that's good. You don't want to get overwhelmed, because you can get overwhelmed, especially with tight deadlines and like, yeah, all that comes with business, you know, and just being able to sit down and think about what's going on and what the situation is, and find the best way to address it and solve whatever the challenge it is.
Yeah, don't like, I would say when I say don't overwork yourself, I would say definitely work yourself to like your limit. Like limit, I'm not limit yourself as far as like on what you can do, but understand that at all times, like all points, you have like a limit with like certain things, and understanding how to like balance that for yourself. And I think that's kind of like a challenge that like people like face outside of just like starting like business or like in general, but I think it plays hand in hand with like starting a business and just anything you do. So yeah, that's making sure that you're checking in with yourself. I think that's how like I begin to like center myself, checking in with myself.
Yeah, for sure.
I think we have time for one more question that I have in the queue. And I also saw in the chat a question for DFA and Grace in Action about the age groups that your program serves. So if you can just drop them in the chat, we'll answer that question that way, of the age ranges for your programming. So I think this will be the last or second to last question, is about, is there some sort of common network for youth entrepreneurs or any broader group that either of you are plugged into, David and Brandon?
No, not really, not on my end. Like Grace in Action has been my biggest supporter. And besides, I mean, there's Terry. I want to give a shout out to Terry for that wonderful comment he made about me in the group. So I know Terry, and he's amazing, and appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm kind of like say for myself, I don't think it's kind of like a broader connection. I think that's maybe something that like we can like come up with like ourselves, like as like a group, maybe partner with David and say like, hey, let's come up with this connection, like, and bringing like people into it. But yeah, I don't think it's like really when I think like beyond kind of like DFA and like mentors that kind of like been my kind of like connect, but I think like an overall group like where like youth can connect with like different youth. I don't think that it's kind of like one.
Mm-hmm. I will say that there are some networks of cooperatives, and so there's like the U.S. Federation of Worker Co-ops. There's some other, but there are not a lot of youth co-ops, and part of that has to do with legal regulations around when a contract becomes a contract, but all that can be worked around, and so yeah, that's what I would say.
So thank you so much. I think we're about at time. I just want to thank David and Brandon, Megan and Tiffany so much for being here, and all of you for joining the conversation, and wanted to let you know that you can learn more about Stitching Up Detroit at stitchingupdetroit.com and follow them on Facebook and Instagram. Their Instagram is Stitching Up Detroit, all one word. And then you can follow Lottie and Grace Catering on Instagram at LG Catering Company. We will drop all of those in the chat as well. And I've been getting a lot of questions about recording. Yes, we have been recording this conversation, and it will be available in the next few weeks on our website at skillman.org. Also wanted to give you a heads up about our December Let's Talk session, which is going to be on juvenile justice and safety. Stay tuned for a date and more details on that. So before we close it out, I know folks are going to start dropping off, but David and Brandon, let's just close it out with, if you have any advice for young people who are thinking about starting a business, what advice do you want to give them?
Don't be scared. Like if you set yourself to do something, just try it out. You won't lose nothing with trying, you know. Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing, fear. That's like I have like family members that I'm close with that want to start their own thing, and that's the thing that holds them back, you know. Like, oh, I'm scared that I'm not gonna be able to provide for my family, or that sort. So it's like, just, you know, don't be scared, and the fear might be there, but it's worth the try.
Yeah, I'll say the same thing. Kind of like, if you want to like start a business, like do it. Like, and that sounds like so cliche. Like, literally do it. But along with just like doing it, also understanding the power of networking. Like, I think that's kind of like what got me like as far as I am now, being like network with like different people, understanding that like there is people that like literally wants to help you just because they want to help you, not because there's anything behind it, but just simply because they want to help you. So like, yeah, like push yourself, do it, go out there. And kind of like what David said, if you fail, you fail. It's almost like if I'm at level 20 and I can't beat level 20 and I fail level 20, I can always go back over and redo level 5 because I already done it. I did it before. So like pushing, doing it.
Thank you for those powerful takeaways. Let's call it a session and thank our panelists. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you all you guys for listening to our stories. Give us a follow.
Yeah.
I know that you all are going to be receiving some follow-up messages and business inquiries. So really happy to be making all those connections today. Thanks, everyone.
Appreciate it. Thank you, guys.